So good evening, or welcome to the DONNYCHAINGANG with me, Matt Payne. We're here live on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel, and of course you can always watch this back at another time if you are busy riding at the moment. But most of our riders I know try and ride and watch at the same time. Always a good way to keep up with the action. And of course we're going to be bringing you coverage from all of the DONNYCHAINGANGs, as we have been on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel all the way through. And it's Women's Wednesday and we are in London. We have a great course, again another varied course. We have been moving about a bit and we've got lots of great action to come. Already watching the riders to make the way in, and there's been plenty of them in there. There's a lot of riders already joined and it is really busy. We're expecting just under about 100 riders. It may well tick over. It just depends a little bit on who joins last minute. We've already got riders like April Tacey down on the start line. Frankie Hall's in there, interesting to watch. We've got La Lawson in here now. A number of these riders were racing last night, and one of the riders who has been racing last night, has got a really busy week, is Emma, our ride leader. And we are going to dive in and see just what's happening and how Emma's actually getting on and how the legs are feeling. So let's jump across to Emma and let's see how you're going. Hi Emma, how are you?
Evening Matt, everything's okay here. My legs are still attached.
Well, that's kind of a bonus, isn't it?
Yeah, I did my first Swift team time trial last night. It was a baptism of fire.
How did it go? Was it super smooth and team pursuit slick, or was it a bit interesting? Because I think it was a bit bumpy, wasn't it?
It was a little bit bumpy. It was, yeah, perhaps not quite as smooth as we might have liked, but it was absolutely cracking fun and I loved every minute of it.
And that was the first for you. You've never ridden a time trial on Zwift or real life?
I've never ridden a time trial in real life, let alone on Zwift, so it was a complete and utter first for me. But yeah, it was good. I loved it. I'm
Excellent.
A convert.
Careful, you'll be out there on your bars early doors at some silly hour on a real life time trial if you're not careful. Tonight,
that might be going one step too far.
So tonight we are on the DONNYCHAINGANG and you are leading the troop of riders out and round. What have you got in store? Because this is slightly different course to the previous ones.
Yeah, so we had number one was rolling, number two was flat, number three tonight we've got a little bit of something different. So we are on pretty much the flat London route to start with, and then the last just over 4k we head up Keithhill. So there's a finish for the climbers tonight. We like to mix it up and mix it around, and having a few more women's only on the Wednesdays in the plan. There'll be something a little different every time, so something for everyone is what we're aiming for.
Excellent. And we've got a wide variety of riders tonight. We've got people who's first time riding pretty much on Zwift, and we've got people, of course, like April Tacey and Frankie Hall from the Drops team, riders who've won stages, experienced riders like Joe Tindley and Charlotte Berry. You know, we've got some real variety in the group. How's that going to work? What's your plan?
I know, the mix of riders is fantastic, isn't it? And I'm loving the commentary on the Facebook page about having a go for the first time, and it's great to see first timers here today. So we're going to have we have Miss Cookie today as Red Beacon, very experienced on the chain gang. Miss Cookie will be rolling round at around 2 watts per kilo for the whole event. Jo is our sweeper tonight. She'll be helping Miss Cookie out, bringing people back to the group. You've got to remember, wherever you are on the course tonight, group is best until you hit that climb. A group, even if it's 2 or 3 of you, will be travelling quicker than you can do on your own. So find a group, buddy up, find a friend and stay with them.
And you're going to roll out at about 2 watts per kilo, I presume?
Yep, so pretty much as standard. We're going to roll out nice and steady at 2 watts per kilo. We've got that little climb on the lead-in, so let's take it nice and steady, make sure everybody's out the pen. We'll roll round the first lap of the London Flat, with a max of around 2.5 watts a kilo. We might then start to wind it up a little to 3.5 watts a kilo before you've got to watch out for that go, go, go. Once that has gone, it's free for all to the finish line.
Well, that's going to be interesting. I don't know where the go, go, go is. You probably don't know right this moment. Like Russ on the Open Chain Gang, our leaders open to use their discretion where they are out on the ride. I know a number of people were trying to find out where it was, but our rider's going to do that. So Emma, keep mum, don't tell anybody till the last minute. Well, maybe apart from me. I'm hoping it'll show up on the screen tonight for everybody and me, because it was missing last night, which made for a very entertaining moment when everybody started accelerating and I didn't even know it had gone. So we're looking forward to that. We're going to let you continue and brief the troops with just over 4 minutes to go. So thank you very much, Emma. Good luck.
Thanks.
So great to hear from Emma, our yellow beacon. And as she says, team of 3 tonight out on the road. We've got Emma as yellow beacon, who is the leader. Remember, it's her go, go, go that will signal the start of the racing. Not that it's a race, but it invariably does turn into one. No results at the aim is to get a super fast ride out of it. We set loads of PBs on the way around. Now, helping out with the ride is our sweeper. That's Joe Jarvis, another really regular rider on the DONNYCHAINGANG, and another rider who really knows it inside out. She's going to be helping our red beacon, that is Miss Cookie, to sweep the riders up and down and bring them all back together again. And the aim, of course, of this is to get quicker and quicker. The more riders you have in that group, the more you work together, the quicker it's going to be for everybody. And we've seen it time and time again. If riders go off the front, if they go off the back, if they're a singular or threes, they're not going to go as fast. So stay as a big pack, roll it through, getting quicker. And this is where riders, you and me, get to go ride with winners of the Tour de France stages. I mean, you know, you don't get that in real life all that often. We managed to do it here on the DONNYCHAINGANG week in, week out, pretty much, and several times a week. 3 today. Sorry, 3 this week. It is the second today. So let's show you where you're going, because we have a fantastic bit of info for you. And let's first of all dive across to the map. And this is courtesy of Zwift Insider. They use Zwift Hacks for the animated map. So we're in London. We're at Keithhill after party. It is a 38-kilometre ride in total. Our lead-in starts off at the chevrons, just at the top right-hand side of your screen, dropping down to the orange square. We then roll in towards the circuit on the left-hand side and follow the route round. Now, Keithhill after party uses what is Greater London Flat for the majority before going into what's known as the classic course. That's the dead-end stub just up towards the top in the centre, before then riding back out and around the loop. The Keithhill after party, from the lead in right the way out and round the loop to the top of the King of the Mountain, is a total of 36.5. So when we add that to the 0.5k of lead in, that is a total ride distance of 37 kilometres. We then have 1 kilometre of warm down, literally downhill, to the blue banner. Now we gain 407 metres of climbing on the way round, and most of that comes at the end of the ride. So let's make sure that we show you what that looks like. And our supporters, really good supporters of the DONNYCHAINGANG, right from the word go, are VeloViewer. And this is the wonderful graphic from VeloViewer. As you can see, it's pretty flat for most of it, apart from in the distance the looming yellow and red stripes of the climb up Keithhill. And what you can see really graphically on there is it's not a consistent gradient. We come into Keithhill and we drop down, and just a little dip before is the run underneath the tunnels on the underground. We then come out and it's a fairly consistent gradient to about a third distance. We then get a drop, a dip down, which comes up nearer the 10% mark before then kicking up again into those 3 orange sectors. Those orange sectors are the steepest sections before it then levels off up at the top. 4k of climbing from the tunnels to the top, 407 metres of climb, and the aim here is going to be about keeping it nice and steady. So it looks like our riders are just about ready. We've got about 24 seconds at the moment as we roll in to the start. Our riders need to remember, stay together, stay with yellow. It's going to roll out at about 2 watts per kilo, and the aim is to keep the pack together until the yellow beacon gives you that go, go, go. It looks like we've got a really really busy night. In fact, it's great to have a number of riders using this as their warm-up, and it looks to me like we are going to get at least 1 or 2 riders just dropping off because they're going to go race later on, and that's perfectly fine. That's the whole point. We've got lots of riders using it for lots of different things. So as our riders start to roll out, let's take a little bit of a look and give you a quick explanation of what you're going to see out on the course here on the Donny Chain Gang on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel. So first of all, let's show you the screen. So on the screen you can see our yellow beacon. That is Emma Payne trying to keep the rollout nice and steady, and you can just see that pillar of a gold light over our yellow beacon. Top right hand side is the map. We currently have our 3D map. We also have our zoomed in 2D and our zoomed out 2D, and the aim of the map is for our riders to be able to see exactly where everybody is. So if we zoom in, you can see our red beacon at the back rolling up, and the blob up around the yellow beacon shout going out to hold everybody together around 2 watts per kilo. Lots of very experienced riders in here, so it's all about holding it together near our beacon and keeping that packed together. And of course it will get faster and faster and faster as we get towards the ends. Now on your screen top right hand side you can just see up there the gradient increasing as our riders go underneath the start banner. That's the first half a kilometre done, and you can see that it's now 0.6 on Emma's screen. She's currently travelling along at 32 kilometres an hour, covered 0.7k, climbed 4 metres and been going 1 minute 20. On the left hand side of your screen you can see Emma's watts currently rolling around that 150 160 mark, dropping down just so allowing people to get back in. Remember the aim here to keep that group together, to let it all blob together. The heart rate, well, Emma at the moment, her heart is ticking along at 127 beats per minute, 85 revs per minute, so a nice steady cadence there. Left hand side you can see the London Loop data, and that shows no riders going round because none of our riders have completed 1 lap on the way round. This will only become critical when we hit the KOM, because the KOM is what we're looking to go up, and it will be on the Keithhill KOM. We'll see that a little bit later. It's the pink dotty jersey with the white dots on, and that will give us our data when the riders hit the very top of that climb. We'll be able to see who did the fastest climb as well as who was the first over the line. So let's move in, and we're going to jump in with Emma and with Miss Cookie, and we're going to see who is doing what, how it's rolling along. Just make sure everybody's behaving themselves. We don't want any of these professional riders just ripping it up. And you know what? Last time they didn't, they were an absolute credit to the sport. So let's dive in live. Let's get the helicopter up in the air with the riders, and let's dive in here on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel with all our riders, and we're down in the tunnels already. So let's take a little bit of a look. We're going to take the drone cam up in the air, and you can see at the moment a little bit of a gap starting to open up between the yellow beacon and the front group. The front group just pushing on maybe a little bit hard, which is just opening the gap. Joe Tindley and Eve Roberts in the gap, trying to just hold that gap together behind our yellow beacon. Just going to take a little bit of a look. Now Frankie Hall knows this, and good to see Frankie. The drops team, they know exactly what is going on. It's all about bringing the riders together. It looks like 1 or 2 people just being distanced off the back of the group, and that front group just pushing on maybe a little bit hard at the moment. So you can just see Frankie Hall just rolling it through, making sure everybody gets back together again. So Emma just telling the riders she's just going through to just put a call out. Remember guys, the aim is to hold the group together. The mission is to show up the riders on the standard Donny Chain Gang, which was done, I have to admit, on the rise last time. So our riders out and on the ride. Just seen Harley Hobbs in the group, Ruby Miller in here, Gabby Shaw, Phoebe Snedden, looks like Wootton O'Brien, Marshall in here, Gail Phillips is in as well, as our riders roll their way along the side of the Thames. And as you can see, this group are riding very, very strongly indeed already, and they do need to just be a little bit careful they don't drop riders off the back. We're going to move our way slightly further back down the course, and we're going to try and pick up our red beacon. And our red beacon is going to be Miss Cookie. So let's see if we can dive in with Cookie. It might take a little bit of a jumping back, but we will soon find out where they are. I think we're just in with Brady at the moment. And this is Chantal Brady, who we're in with here, and we're just going to take the drone up. So this is our 3 riders at the back who are working with the red beacon. The red beacon is Miss Cookie, who's coming down the right hand side there, and Cookie, Brady and Joe Jarvis, the sweep, all working together here. And remember, this is all about keeping the groups together. So a group of 3 here being ticked on here by Miss Cookie as Jarvis and Brady are continuing onwards. So it looks like it is looking really good at the moment. These 3 are riding nice and smooth. 17 seconds up the road is Foxy, and looks like Foxy just distanced a little bit by this group. A very experienced rider is Foxy, and one of our regulars on the chain gang just closing in on Grey, and that group looks like it has blobbed up together, and the early push on has eased off. They're going to have to watch themselves on this hill. This is a classic break point if you are racing on Zwift, but remember the aim here is to pull all these riders into the group. So we're just in with Foxy as she goes up onto the hill, and as you can see, if we can just dodge the trees with our drone cam, that the riders are just starting to block up together, and that's exactly what we want to see. And if we take a little bit of a run back from Foxy, you'll be able to see that the guys are just stretching it out at the moment. Remember, we're going to be heading out and around circuit very shortly, and it all winds up nice and steady. There's no need to do too much of a serious warm-up before we hit this. It's all about moving onwards now. Good to see some of our regulars on here. We've got Sonia Inslee, one of our members of the fantastic Donny Chain Gang Supporters Club, the DCG Gang. The DCG Gang is what keeps the show on the road, quite literally, the virtual ride and the YouTube coverage. Without the guys in the gang, we just couldn't do this, and it is absolutely critical that gets as many members as possible. It's really easy to join. What you need to do, click on the links on the Facebook page or the Donny Chain Gang site, and you can then click through for either donating £20 for the month, or you can join for the year for £200. We have some fantastic prizes, giveaways, discounts, as well as bringing you all the links for all the rides direct to your email inbox. And that basically means that what we do is we are just saying thank you to you by using Russ and myself, Matt Payne's contacts in the sport, and we're getting in touch with people who can bring some fantastic products. People like Pretty Gritty with their ethically and environmentally a superb top quality range of clothing. Remember, we also bring things in like the coffee, so Grand Tour coffee, there's great discount on that. We've got discounts coming up from OTE as well. Now we're going to just take a little bit of a drop back here. So Ailey Gilbert just off the back here, but looks like she is got about 3 riders with her that she's just trying to tow back into the group here. That group is pushing on, and it's going to come into the hill and slow off, and this is where those riders behind need to just put a little bit of a push in, and they'll get themselves in. Just taking a little bit of a look, I think it's Marshall at the back of this group at 3, currently pushing out 2.4 watts per kilo, working hard to try and get onto the group. You can see on the top right hand side of the screen that the riders in the group are already onto that climb, and if we get a little bit further up in the air, you can see here that Marshall working really hard, 163 watts at the moment, and that's 85 revs per minute, and just chasing these riders on. And if the front group take it nice and steady over the top of the climb, that is going to hold it all together. But the pressure seems to be on a little bit at the front. There's plenty of 3s and 4s starting to appear a little bit further up, and they do need to ease it off. Now we're going to take a little bit of a run through that group. We're going to look for a few of our top flight riders. First of all, let's focus in on Frankie Hall. Frankie, of course, from the Drops team, riding very, very strongly in all of the chain gang so far. The Drops team, of course, providing a home for so many of our top flight professional riders, and Frankie Hall, an experienced rider and a very good captain on the road. DS for the team as well in time trials, and the drops team out and competing regularly. Now, taking a little bit of a look back, just seeing, I think, April Tacey in the group. So let's jump in on the teammate of Hall. And this is April Tacey. Now, April, our guest on the Christmas special between Christmas and New Year. April, one of our regulars on the Chain Gang, knows the score inside out, has been on the Chain Gang, and one to watch out for, whether it's in the Open or the women-only Chain Gang. As our riders dive in, we're going to get underground as we go down past Hyde Park Corner. This group just rolling down together, and the pressure is on. You can see one or two riders just being distanced off the back. If we zoom out a little bit, you can see there's at least 3 blobs behind these riders on that map up top, and that means that the riders are just fighting to stay in with this group. We're going to drop across, I think going to try and pick up on Kim Baptista. Kim, another regular on the Chain Gang for the Enya Cat team, and just in the group. We're going to be in the glasses, I think. They're in the shades, just moving away up through the group. They're just rolling around by the yellow beacon. And good to see Kim back in, a very talented rider on and off road. Looks like Nikki Skinner's in here. So the rider in here, this is Skinner. Oddly enough, yes, definitely a relation to Millie, and looking really good and smooth there. Ticking along, 150 beats per minute, 163 beats on the way through, 163 watts. Now in with Sarah Lomas. This is Slowmas, and it looks like Slowmas starting to ride regularly on the Chain Gang, and definitely one of the women to watch out for when it goes uphill. Regularly one of the riders that we know will push on, but again, nicely holding that group and not going too far. Now we're just dropping back here. Looks like Ailey Gilbert doing a little bit of a team job, and good to see Ailey out on course. She's got Foa on a wheel, and Anne Bale's at about 6 seconds behind. I think Anne likely to find that she's going to get swept by Marshall, and then Jarvis, Cookie and Brady. The red beacon is about a minute back down the road, and that's not going to take long before they come in. Just running alongside Harris here, you can see top right hand side of your screen, we have the Serpentine on the edge there. That's the corner of Hyde Park, and our riders here are going to make the way down this slope down the side of the London bus. If we take a little bit of a flick round, we're just going to see where Bale is. Bale at 11 seconds, and I think Bale is likely to be dropping into this rider. That is Marshall. So Bale at the moment on that same corner here, and Bale nice and smooth at 96 revs per minute. So that's a nice high cadence, that's a really smooth cadence, and Bale now dropping down. Behind Bale is Marshall, and looks like Michelle Marshall just coming up to that same corner, and Marshall tucked in low, 140 watts here, 83 revs per minute, and again nice smooth pedaling there. That revs, the cadence not changing all that much. Behind then we are going to have Brady Cookie along with Jarvis in the group of 3, and they are going to be sweeping people up on the way around. We're not around one lap of the course yet, so we're going to have to see how that group is holding together, because the front group looks to be a little bit on it at the moment, I have to say. It's certainly pushing it on. We've got the main group currently sitting at 1 minute 29. Let's jump in with Manning, who is the rider just sitting at the back of this group, just pushing on into the group at the moment. So Marcel Manning in the women's chain gang here on the Donny Chain Gang, and this is a nice moving group. Not too many people playing silly whatsits and disappearing off the front. Remember, it's all about sitting in that group and riding in with the bunch. Keep the bunch together as we head down towards the river. You can just see top right hand side on the map, the river just starting to appear in the distance. The back of this group are feeling it, because this is a very quick chain gang already. I think the initial lap of 2 to 2.5 has gone out the window, and I think these riders are going to be finding themselves feeling the pressure of it hitting nearly 3 watts per kilo. Now Shuena is in here. Come on, Shuena, push up here. This is the time to get the pace up. The front group just putting a few bike lengths in here as they go down here, and that is going to make her life really hard for Shuela. Remember, it's all about keeping on the gang, try not to lose the wheels. It's worth the extra push, even if it hurts, to jump in with those wheels. Once they go, then it's time to jump in with a group behind, and it looks like Ailish Gilberts is going to be the group behind. Let's see if we can see them behind before we get round the corner. I think they're just in the distance. But Islam at the moment on the chase here, trying to get back in with that leading group. Battersea Power Station in the distance. Now, are we seeing Docker's going to go back? Are we going to see any of the stronger riders doing the business and dropping back? Let's just drop in with Watts at the moment. Remember, if you're feeling strong on the chain gang, one of the ways to work well is to get a good workout early, is to drop back and help those riders behind. It's amazing how much of a workout it is going back and taking those riders back up to the front. And at the moment it looks like Islam working really hard here at nearly 3 watts per kilo. Now she is really going to be on the rivet here, trying to push on, and looks to me like Shuema is currently in there. And look at this, Dockers has gone back to give her a hand. Absolutely superb riding there. That was like a red arrow dropping back in formation just to try and give a little bit of a toe to Islam, just to give her a little bit of a drag up there, and it's certainly working. Dockers are doing the business. It's really hard to get the pacing right for somebody when you go back. Dockers dropping back, giving some pace, and that's fantastic. And now we need one or two more people to do that for Shuena, and she's going to be on there. And I think that was really good stuff by Dockers. Here she comes. She's going to do another Yui, a couple of Yuis there. Not quite got Shuena back on the group here. Currently that's gap sitting at 3 seconds. It may well be that Emma is going to have to put a little bit of an ease off for about a minute or so till they get over the Interparliament Square. It's not going to take long before this group come back together, but a bit of a lonely ride here for Shuema. She's sitting, she's still pulling clear of the group behind. This is the duo. This is going to be Foa and Gilbert. They're currently at 36 seconds behind Islam at the moment, and certainly working well. So it looks like the call has gone out from the front to knock it back a little bit. It's not going to be back for long, but it will be enough that the draft is strong in the pack tonight in the Donny Chain Gang, and it's never easy, but looks like Sherma, this is the time to push. We're going to take a little bit of a look. It's 4 seconds the gap here, and looks like, are we going to see anybody coming back? Looks like Maddie Smith, I think, is dropping back. She's at 1.4 watts per kilo. So it looks to me like Smith going to drop back now. Let's see if we're going to see a really good drag back in for the riders behind. So here we go. Who's coming back? Looks like Sammy Stewart of Crimson is here. Well done, Shuema. Yeah, I can tell you're pushing hard here. So let's have a look. So Shuema's going to get some assistance. Don't blow your socks off just yet, kiddo, because we are going to get Sammy Stewart here. You've got Maddie Smith in the pink as well, and these are two very experienced and very quick riders. Look at the pace Shuema's coming up onto them here. Look at the pace she's going past. Now you're going to see Sammy pick the pace up, then Maddie pick the pace up as well. Now this is where they've got to help pull her on, but Shuema is really motoring here, and great to see. Look at the watts going up from Sammy Stewart and Maddie Smith up to nearly 5 watts per kilo, pulling themselves back in. And this is what happens when we get a trail of riders behind. You can pop into the back, everybody can keep on pulling back in, and this is how it works. Everybody helps out each other. Look at this, April Tacey, stage winner, the very first stage winner of the Women's Virtual Tour de France, is back here helping out the riders behind, and that is what the Donny Chain Gang is all about. That's why we do it. That's why Russ and I are giving up, I can't remember how many weeks of our lives to make this thing happen, because we've got some professional riders helping riders on the Chain Gang for the first time, bringing people back together, and that is what it is all about on the Donny Chain Gang. That is for sure. What teamwork there. The group were working together, and absolutely our professionals showing exactly how it's done. Dockers starting that off, and everybody who made that work, you know, this is stunning stuff. This is what we want to see. This is how we get more bums on seats, and this is how we get more people riding, and we get more people through lockdown. Russ and I set this up as a way to give some thing for people to look forward to, and guess what? I'd be looking forward to this. I'm a bit jealous I can't ride. So looks like everybody's on. April's in here on the back, and everybody's back in together. The group behind, we've got Ailey Gilbert and Foa here, and they are riding a nice smooth pace here, about 2.3 to 2.8 watts per kilo. So they're not going to get back on here, I don't think, because you can just see that yellow beacon taking the left turn up in Parliament Square, but they are managing to stay away from Bale. Bale is on a little bit of a loading ride. I think if I was Anne Bale, I would be just knocking the pace off a little bit here, let Marshall, Cookie and that group come together, and it's only 37 seconds now, but you can save a lot of energy. When you hit that climb at the end, you're going to get all that time back. So let's drop back to Marshall. So this is Marshall just behind, and that's going to make a duo as they come in together. So Marshall in here and Bale just in front. Looks like Bale is just dropping off that pace, and they're going to become a duo. That duo then being chased by these three riders here. This is going to be Joe Jarvis, our sweep, in the blue. Then in the red and black with the red chevron, that is Miss Cookie, and Brady is putting a good ride in here. Really good to see that Brady sitting on these wheels, keeping in the draft, not using too much, and it's going to be very interesting to see who has got the pace when they get up to the top. So Bale and Marshall are the two riders in the sights of these three, this trio chasing behind as they come up towards Vauxhall Bridge. They are going to be straight across to what in real life is a roundabout, conveniently erased here on Zwift for us, and they're going to be heading up. You can just see the riders in front. Meanwhile, let's take a jump in with the group, and at the moment this is our leading group. This is the big bunch. So at the moment we have a group of three with the red beacon, we have a duo behind this but in front of them, and then we have this is the Donny Chain Gang, the Women's Wednesdays is here again, and we have 4 now every other week to the end of March, and it is a good warm-up here. There's some big numbers coming out from these riders, and it is going to be putting riders under pressure, but remember, no matter what happens, you've got to take the role you want to be in there. So just taking a look, looks like we have Phoebe Snedden in here, just rolling in with Natalie Kresick. Natalie, of course, top flight road rider and a regular on the national scene. Looks like we've got Grace Metcalf. Grace now working for Specialised here in the UK, and Grace, of course, very experienced on events around the UK and abroad as well. We're going to take a little bit of a flick right the way through here. So it looks like we've got at least Blackburn in here, looks like Lawson in the group, looks like Nicola Soden in here, Claire Gibson, it looks like Cullen, Harley Hobbs in this as well, O'Brien, Wootton in here. Everybody ticking along nicely here. This is a good group, not too much pressure just yet. I think as we come around the top, there are 3 or 4 riders just feeling the pressure as it's gone up over the top. Let's see if we can drop back towards them here on the chain gang. We're going to drop past that yellow beacon here, and as you can see, just working our way back through the group, and looks like April Tacey is one of the riders at the back just with Jones. We're just going to take a little bit of a check here. So Tacey has Riley on here. I think this is going to be Danielle Riley. Danielle, of course, based over in the Manchester side. So Jones on the front of this group of 4. So it's Jones, Tacey, Le Bon and Riley. This quadruplet of riders, this quartet of riders just working the way in towards the group again. Just taking a little bit of a look across now. These guys can get back on again, I'm sure, and I'm sure they are going to get a little bit of assistance. The pace will no doubt have gone up a little bit on the front as they've headed in towards the beacon. Looks like one rider deciding to stretch the legs. Very slow way of doing it, has to be said. If you want to get fast time, what you need to do is to go off the back, so that when you're on the 200 metres, you're working your way through the bunch. If you sprint off the front of the group, you don't get such a fast time. Take it from me, I need all the help I can get. and plenty of these people will be giving me a really hard time. And you can see by those times here, that early time, that solo rider who tried to go off the front, then they have been eclipsed by the pace of the riders coming flying through in the group. So it looks like the party bus is on the go. We'll see. I'm sure Cookie will be telling us what's happening at the back of the party bus, whether they are on gin and biscuits or whether they are on whiskies already. It's always an entertaining conversation at the back. So here we go, just taking a look. These are our chasing riders. They're currently on the way up the climb of Constitution Hill. That is Buckingham Palace in the background. This is the climb up to the top. In front of this group of four, which is now Brady, Marshall, Jarvis and Cookie, it is going to be Bale. So let's just jump in with Bale here. So Bale at the moment just coming into the turn, and if we take a little bit of a look behind, you can just see that red beacon barreling down on Bale, and she's going to get some assistance. It's going to be a really good group. Cookie reckons she's too young for whiskey. That's definitely not true. I know your real age, don't forget that. So taking a little bit of a look back, it's not quite measured in centuries yet, not even in half centuries yet. So just taking a look at Bale at the moment, just opening the throttle again on the way down, and the chasing group behind are going to be closing down. Then we have Foa here along with Gilbert, and they are soon going to see that red beacon group. They are still in front, 134 at the moment, and it looks like Gilbert at the moment is moving along quite nicely here. So Gilbert just pushing on a little bit here in front. Then you can see this group is starting to stretch out here, because we've got Jones and Riley now just being distanced. In front then is going to be Con LeBon. Is LeBon in trouble here, because LeBon looks like they're distanced? Tacey's had to push on, and Tacey's not in this group as yet, and it looks like the main chain gang at the moment is stealing a bit of a march on a yellow beacon, which is a bit mean. That's harsh, because Tacey's gone off the back. If you're watching this, April Tacey done the honourable thing, dived back for the riders, and they've said, oh, hang on a minute, we've got a little bit of a chance. That's like attacking in the feed zone. That's definitely not on. Mean. Definitely mean. So let's take a little bit of a look, and looks like the gang have dropped back. A teammate here now back with them, so Schuemer's gone back and helping. That's really good, and it looks also like the team here, Frankie Hall, just getting, they've picked up Tacey. They've got a few behind, and just keeping an eye here, looks like Gina Hardcastle on the way through in this group as well. The front of the pack is about 6 seconds in front, and this is where the riders that are not the professionals, like the drops riders, need to try and grit those teeth, hold onto the back wheels of these riders. It will split them apart, because remember, these riders are trying to hang on the wheels of some of the best riders in the UK, if not in the world, because remember, of course, Tacey taking 2 stage wins in the virtual women's Tour de France, and that is how good these riders are. If they push on, then I think Hardcastle or Watson, Islam are going to be hard pushed to stay with them. LeBon and Riley currently sitting a little bit further back. Jones a bit further back. Fat Girl Fit, which is going to be for just distanced a little bit at the moment. And let's take a little bit of a look in the pack. It looks like the yellow beacon has run right up to the front of the group to give them a little bit of a knock it off a little bit. We'll see quite how delicately done that is. It's certainly a reason why I'm never a beacon. I'm not diplomatic. Out of the team at the chain gang, Russ is the most patient, I think, of all of us. Myself, I'm not definitely patient. That's for sure. I'm definitely not diplomatic. So 2 awards per kilo. Just waiting to get the gang behind, who are chasing hard behind our leading pack back on, and you can see at the moment April Tacey now sitting at 13 seconds behind, 13 seconds behind this group, and that is why it's going to be tricky for Tacey and the gang behind. You can see this is a big pack of riders, and Tacey working to bring them back on here. Looks like Maddie Smith has gone back to help out again. Smith doing some sterling work here in the group. This is a big pack of riders, so Maddie hit the throttles now because they're coming at pace. Frankie Hall, April Tacey, looks like Collie Brown, looks like Gray in here as well, are really motoring on. Wendy Crossland in here, and they are going to now try and work to get themselves back in with that leading group. The pace is knocked off a little bit up with the front. It looks like some of these riders are just managing to pull the throttle back off the front of the group. We're going to just run our way up because we have the ability with the camera to just jump up to the very front of the group, and the guys behind these are working very, very hard. We're up on the front. Connie, why are we saying 3s and 4s, kiddo? You know the score. The aim here is to pull everybody back together again. You wait for the go, go, go. Anybody pushing on, really, we will name and shame you. We've done it on the main chain gang. We don't discriminate. We will name and shame on the women's as well. Don't you worry. Select the main chain gang. The camera will be dropping back in with the yellow beacon, and a yellow beacon, I think if they come through to the front, I think Emma is going to have to put the word out. Particular riders are jumping up on the front doing 3 to 4 watts per kilo. Going to split the group at the moment. There is no signal for a free-for-all just yet, and I think that is going to be the word that goes out from our yellow who is up there. And we're just going to take our camera. The pack there just being dragged back in by our yellow beacon, but you can see behind the beacon it is one long line already, and the problem is for the riders in front, if they keep on playing silly Wattses, they will end up either being called a muppet by me, or more importantly, they'll never get the signal to push onwards. So just taking a look in here, we're just in with Hashfield. We're going to jump in with our beacon at the moment. So remember, our true professionals are going to be in there and looking after all the riders. Anybody on the front are ripping it apart is not doing themselves any favours, because what happens is this is being watched by plenty of influential people in the sport. And looks like Tacey's back in, but behind Tacey there are groups of 4 or 5 riders here. Looks like Wade still working hard to come in, and it is likely to accelerate if we're not careful up here on the front. You can see Crossland, Tarry, Watts, Islam in a nice group here, just working hard is Watts and Islam, and Hardcastle 14 seconds behind them. And we're just going to jump in. This is our next group out on the course, so it's Islam on the front, then Watts and Hardcastle that we're in with at the moment as they continue to push on. Nice group of 3 working well together. It looks like Conlabon, Jones and Riley are in together. And Riley, of course, knows exactly how to ride it in a group. Very experienced rider. Then we're going to drop back. Looks like the Red Beacon group has got plenty in here. So just keeping an eye on our 5 riders on the Red Beacon at the moment. So Brady, Marshall, Bale, Cookie, Jarvis in here. Bale being pulled in by these riders, just riding in with Brady at the moment. I'm going to take the camera up, and it's Cookie pushing onwards now. Now we're getting the signal to start to push at the very front of the group to 3.5 watts per kilo max. So as Cookie says, you don't want to upset the boss, that is for sure. So just riding in with Lee at the moment, and as you can see, this group just starting to get fractured off. We're just about to come into the little square on the run back in and through the main pack, just starting to distance some riders. Emma Collier at the moment trying to drag Lee into the fold behind his collie. O'Brien at 16 seconds is in here, so looks like O'Brien is just starting to be distanced a little bit by that group. The pressure just starting to build in the pack at the moment. So Jesso O'Brien now pushing on at 3.3 watts per kilo. Personally, with 17 seconds to the riders behind, I'm not sure I will be sitting back and letting what is a group of about 5 riders, 4 or 5 riders, come up onto my wheels. So, but at the moment, Jess O'Brien just continuing to push in through this part of town, and going to be heading up past the empty bidon pub up to the climb up to Hyde Park. Meanwhile, riders just starting to get distances in 1s and 2s. Collier and Lee in here. Eva Roberts nicely hanging in here. Not all that long ago, Eve was still getting the hang of Zwift and getting the hang of riding in with the group, but now it looks like Eva Roberts nicely in this pack here. And as we keep on weaving our way around, these are the zigzags that run us right the way up to the side of the park, and as you can see, this group are riding in well here. So we make our way up around these twists and turns. We're going to be into the side of Harrod soon, and this is the back of the main bunch. We're going to take a little bit of a look back. As you can see behind this group, we just get up in the air with the drone, and you can see riders being distanced. Collier and Gang at 13 seconds, Collier at 26, O'Brien now at 30 seconds, Gray in there, and we're going to have to keep our eye on these gaps because they are going to open up. You can start to see riders using the feather flags in there now. Hamilton needs to push here. Hamilton in here, looks like Lucy Heseltine James in the group at the back here is just feeling the pressure, and they can't afford to let the gaps go. We're going to head down into the underpass. At that point, we're about 15k to the finish. I think we're about 2k from the underpass, so it is going to be about 15k out at the underpass ballpark, and that means that we're going to run down in, we're going to go around the classic, and then we're going to drop down into the run across towards Tower Bridge and the Tower of London before making our way onto Keithhill. And as you can see, these 4 riders here are now really going to get themselves in trouble. Rourke is having to push really hard here. Look at the watts coming out of Rourke here, 400 watts to get back on again. And Rourke going off the back of the main group, pushing on hard here. And the go has gone. Oh my goodness, that has gone early. Whoa, that is mean. So Rourke now is going to find that the pace gets very hot at the front here. Rourke has got to get back on. You can see her absolutely nailing the throttle at the moment. And right up at the front, we're going to drop in with our yellow beacon at the moment. Let's get up in the air. The beacon is aware that we've got the underpass. We're on the climb up, and not content with that 4k hill at the back, she's going to test our pros out here because they have let it go on the underpass. That's going to be really interesting stuff. About 13k to the finish of the ride, about 12k to the finish of the King of the Mountains, and this group are going to be feeling the pressure. Tracy Fletcher, the former world champion Fletcher, in this group. Grace Metcalf in here. Time for more Grand Tour coffee for me, I think, to get the teeth back in. Claire Gibson just being distanced into the back of that group, and then they don't want to let this gap go. Looks like Lomas moving herself up towards the front. Let's see who's on the front of this group. Looks like Hayes it is who's pushing on here. We're just in with Dockers. So it looks like Sonia Ainsley's just felt the legs let go on the way through. Charlotte Berry in here. Looks like Hall has made it. Sammy Stewart, I think he is on the front at the moment. And we're just going to try and jump in with Sammy Stewart. So in with Stewart now. The go has gone. This group are stretched out. Hope Factory Racing with wheel number 2, and this is going to be Ruby Miller. I think Ruby was due to be racing. Maybe she just got hooked so long she's missed the start of the race, because it looks like everybody on here now. It's Lomas trying to open this up. We're just coming into the turn before the descent, and this is where the gaps will open behind our riders. We're going to take a little bit of a look out here because you can see the gaps are are opening behind this big pack. As you go over the top of that climb, it drops down at pace, minus 3% on the run down here. Looks like Claire Gagan in this group. She's definitely improving with every ride. Lawton is in here, Lomas or Wootton, Baptiste is in here as you'd expect. Frankie Hall's in this group, Gagan in here as well. It really is a who's who of women's riding in this group, and at the moment it looks like Mag Speed are going to be pushing riders up towards the front. Once again, the question is, are people going to be just trying to time trial it into the finish and see what happens? Remember, the finish, the top of the climb is the finish. We finish at the top of the KOM. So the finish at the top of the KOM, the top of Keithhill, 4k of climbing, 400 metres of climbing. This is a very elite group up here, and it's Dockers who's now come to the front of the group, just rolling through with Gilbert at the moment, and you can just see this pack is very, very quick indeed. This is your leading group. We have riders scattered around London now as this gap of top flight riders leads down into the descent here. We're still riding in with Ruby Miller from Hope Factory Racing Team in the blue, but these riders continue around. Ailey Gilbert is right up here after helping riders out. So is Sammy Stewart. Got to say a massive thank you to them, and Dockers, of course, who is doing laps out early on as Stewart keeps on pushing. Almost here now. Becky Priest goes up onto the front of the climb, and it looks to me like Priest is leading this out from Hope Factory Racing, so they've got teammates in here. Will they be able to get to the top of the climb before they were due to race elsewhere? We're going to see, because at the moment the Hope Factory Racing Team are ripping it up at the moment, and once that go has gone, and we want to see the best these riders can produce, and that is happening. Corinne Sykes sat in this group. Wade's in here. Looks like Charlotte Berry sat in this group. The Finish Line Racing team have got some very talented riders on their squad. Looks like the squad are working well at the moment. The gaps are opened behind the riders in here, all experienced. You can see they're not letting a millimetre go. It's not all the way across, it is wide across the road. It's not just a one line there. So it is just a reboxing. Look at that pace, it's just come right off, and you can see that. I think that is Becky Priest now heading off for an early shower. Should that be Becky Priest heading off to go race? Good luck, the guys from the Hope Factory Racing Team. Thank you for joining us on the Donny Chain Gang. Lots of riders giving it some serious beans here and trying to stay in with the group. It looks like Snedden in here at the moment. Harley Hobbs in the group. Hobbs are improving with every single rider, and thank you to all of our riders who volunteered as beacons or sweep. We will try and cover every single rider over the finishing line, but at the moment this is the biggest group on the road, and we're on that roller coaster section that takes our riders in towards the finish. We're going to be heading round towards the Tower of London, and you can see the Drops team at the moment sending riders up the road. They are not content with this pace, and it's going to mean that everybody else needs to chase here. So Tacey is who's gone down the road. The chase has come behind, and it looks to me like Dockers it is who has pulled the group back to and past Tacey. So Tacey's little kick there has stretched them out. Tindley working well, sat in this group. Downey Cycling Coast rider here on the Donny Chain Gang, but look who's coming past the Crimson Races. Sammy Stewart keeping that pace nice and high. Did we shed anybody behind? Well, it's strung out. There are a few riders feeling the pressure at the back, but it has not snapped yet. This group is still a big group to come onto the climb together. Currently numbered about 27 riders in that group, and it looks to me like it is Sarah Lomas who is on the front. It is indeed Lomas here who is continuing to keep that pace pushed up. So is Stewart, so is Blackburn. Dockers in there. Looks like Wade in that group working well, continuing to keep the pressure on. Charlotte Berry sat in here. Berry, of course, great team rider for the finish line race. Team going to see whether she's going to be back in the action. Looks like Foxy on the back there, and we're just going to take a little bit of a look a little bit further back. I think Snedden just sitting at the back of this group, and Snez needs to keep pushing onwards. Tracy Fletcher the same. They can't afford to let those gaps go, so it's Tracy Fletcher there, and Phoebe Snedden is letting the gap go. She's got to pull this gap back. As we take a look at the back, the pressure has come on, and Snedden now dropping to 2.6 watts per kilo, and that will see her go backwards. I think Iona Schnuel is going to be in the sight as we watch a lot. Watching Foxy on the way through here, and it looks like the yellow beacon just chucking in a feather flag on that slight rise there to stay with the riders. Torrey working hard here, but at the moment it is going to be Tracy Fletcher. We're just going to jump in here with Fletcher, and at the moment it's Fletcher who is taking turns on the way through. These three know they've got to get in to those back wheels. They can't afford to let it go at the moment. There is no major break in terms of a solo rider, but it looks like the yellow beacon now is going to be feeling the pressure. This is the yellow beacon group at the moment. You can see this is a group that are really having to put the pressure on. Harley Hobbs is in here, Cresswick and Bratton. They need to work with that yellow beacon if they're going to pull back the riders in front. The gap has gone, and the beacon isn't going to be able to do all of that work on their own. I don't think we're running alongside the Tower of London here. As we come alongside the Tower of London, this group are working hard, but they've got to get that junction made. They've got to get back in. Will they be able to get back in touch? It's going to be tough stuff. So here we are, the group working hard. It looks like they're all pushing on. Cresswick are doing a lot of work in this group. So let's see if they're going to pull that back. It's now at 4 seconds. You can see behind, a group behind with Foxy, Fletcher and Gang. But that gap looks to me to be opening up. They could be coming on to the climb together. And I bet our yellow beacon, Emma, is probably regretting the fact that she was racing a team time trial yesterday for a bumpy course. Now, let's get up the road, because we can see a little bit of action here. It looks like Ruby Miller out of action and deciding that she can't leave it any longer to go join the race. So good to have you, Ruby. We'll see you on the chain gang soon. Now, Nixon on the front. This is our leading group. We're just riding in with Joe Tindley at the moment. And it looks like the Cams Tifosi rider feeling particularly comfortable in here as we watch Tindley move up and through the pack here. And at the moment, Tindley are looking very, very focused, sitting in about third wheel. And this really is a who's who now. Steep drop down going to be coming up. This is when things get really tricky, because we're going to work our way down the elevators. This is a 15% descent, and the speed is really picking up here. Up to 62 kph on the way down there, and this is fast. These are the best women in the world in the UK here on the Donny Chain Gang, ripping it up through the underground. They're going faster than the underground driver wanting to get back for his tea, that's for sure, as they come through here. Nearly 50 kph on this, and it's really hard as you go down on this section. But look at this, it is nailed on the way through here. Everybody wants to stay in. Nobody wants to let that pace drop. Remember, we are going to be making our way up onto Keithhill, up onto that ascent. It's a step descent with a dip in the middle, and that's really going to turn legs to jelly if people are on the limit as they hit that. It is not going to get easier as they go through that dip. Everybody's in here. Good to see Alison Kinlock is in here on the comeback after a pretty horrific injury, looking like she's coming back into top form at the moment. Looks like Gagan in here, Nixon in here, Dockers is in here, still looks like Joe Tindley, Edwards in this group as well, Wade in here, Powers in as well, and they are on to the climb now. It is certainly going to get very quick on the way up here, and Sammy Stewart at the moment quickly jumped on the front, but you can see that lead is changing non-stop by these riders. Side ends up going on the front, and the pace has come off here. You can see that the watts per kilo are currently all sitting around about that 4 to 5 watts per kilo. Is anybody going to continue to push on? At the moment, we just got Corrie inside in our sights, but look at this. Frankie Hall says, that's not enough for me. I'm going to keep pushing onwards. And Hall it is now. from that drops team back onto the front after doing a lot of work helping the yellow beacon and helping keep the pack together. The rider from drops now continues to push on, and these riders now are making their way up onto the climb. This left hand turn here takes the riders up onto the climb proper. The gradient's going to start kicking in, and anybody who is struggling now is really going to feel the pace as they go. You can see behind this group is thinning down. Those riders just starting to be distanced off here, and it is starting to take its toll on the riders behind. Looks like Ailey Gilbert, Gagan suffering. Looks to me like Ashfield and Nixon also having a hard time just off the back of this group. But this really is an elite group of riders up here as they make their way up. We are just keeping an eye as Hall continues to take the lead here. Everybody is sat in this group. Nobody is letting the gaps go. Now that we are on to this climb, it's a 7% section here. And who is fighting at the back here? You've got to go in. You can just see the feather flags going in. That's 10% weight reduction. When you kick those in, they make a massive difference. It doesn't sound much, but it can be a huge difference. And at the moment, we're just going to take a little bit of a drop back to those riders a little bit further back. It looks like it is Wotton at the moment, who is just a distance behind Wotton. You can see Kinloch and Gilbert. Now Gilbert doing a lot of work, Nixon doing a lot of work, Gagan doing a lot of work. All these riders all now distanced by our leading pack. At the moment, it looks to me like Tacey sitting in this group. This is the pack that is leading the DONNYCHAINGANG, the Women's Wednesdays, up the climb. 9% climb now as Tacey is ensconced within this group, just dropping back here at about 3.5 watts per kilo. So is this a drop back to attack, or is Tacey going to let the legs have a little bit of a day off here on the Chain Gang? A regular on both opens on Tuesdays and Thursdays, as well as Women's Wednesdays. And such an honour to have so many great riders up in the group now. Tacey seeing this group continue to push on, and it could well be it's going to be left to Frankie Hall to close down this rider who is up on the front. It is Blackburn at the moment who's opening the gap up on the riders, really continuing to stretch this out at the moment. So it is looking like Joe Blackburn has got the ascent. Now we're onto this little downhill. Remember, we said about halfway up there was a drop down, and at the moment Joe Blackburn continued to push on at 5.3 watts per kilo. That is some going at the moment as you continue down this slope behind. Three chasing riders, Stewart, Hall and Edwards at 3 seconds behind. Then it's going to be Tindley leading the chase with Side, Hayes, Power, Berry, Wade, all at about 6 seconds down on this rider. But at the moment, Joe Blackburn is our leader, and Blackburn now going onto the slope. The groups are coming physically closer together because of the increase in gradient, and here come the chasers. Look at Edwards here, the States rider, now continuing to push right on the wheel, not going round Stewart at the moment, and it is going to be Sammy Stewart who is going to be our leader once again here. So we're going to take a little bit of a spin round on the camera. Blackburn and Stewart, the two riders on front. Plenty of riders drop. Looks like Lala Lawson feeling the pressure. The AAO race team rider is in here, but she's not going to be able to push to the top with that leading group. She's got some good company in the shape of Dockers and Lomas. Behind is Baptista and Tacey. The chasing group look like they've just about caught up our leaders. Let's have a little bit of a look here. So it looks to me like Wade is the last rider, just with that Zwift said jersey at the back. Just in front of Wade is going to be Berry, then Tindley in the green, Hayes in the pink and grey, then it's going to be Power. Just in front is going to be Edwards, then Side, Frankie Hall, then Sammy Stewart. But at the moment, the rider who is doing the damage to everyone else, it is Joe Blackburn, who is looking really good. Now remember, The aim here is to get to the top first, so we'll be calling the ride at the top. We've then got 1 kilometre of warm down on the far side, and that is going to give our riders a chance. But look at this, Blackburn, as we go up into the clouds, has got the gaps opened up. If we take a little bit of a look on the map, we'll just drop out here. You can see riders dotted all the way on the hillside. And so we zoom out, you can see the yellow beacon just making its way out and around onto the climb. But our sole leader is Joe Blackburn. Can Stuart bring them back? Can Frankie Hall bring them back? They are 1s and 2s behind this rider as Blackburn continues to push on. We're now onto this steeper section here, and you can see it is currently at 12%. This is one of the steeper sections, one of those orange ramps on that fellow viewer graphic that you can see. And at the moment, Blackburn trying to keep clear of the riders behind Sam Stewart as well as Frankie Hall at the moment, with a gap on Corin's side. Well, it certainly looks to me like that cloud has closed in. Our helicopter unable to fly through this. We're going to get the drone down in with the riders, and at the moment it's Blackburn who has now come up onto this slightly easier section. We say easier, it's 6%. It doesn't really help every time the gradient changes. And our Stewart and Hall behind playing this clever. Look at Blackburn at the moment, and we're just zooming on Blackburn, keeping the revs there. 169 beats per minute at the moment, and Joe Blackburn just opening up the gap on those chasers again. It's now out to 2 seconds at the moment, and Hall and Stewart are working behind at the moment. Hall 5.5 watts per kilo on the front, Stewart sitting behind. We have about half of the distance covered on the way up the climb. Still plenty more climbing to do and plenty more time for them to pull it back. At the moment, the chasers now. This is Frankie Hall that we're in with at the moment, and you can see that Frankie are working hard here for the drops team. 189 beats per minute. That is a huge heart rate at the moment, chasing Joe Blackburn. Blackburn up in front. Behind then is going to be Sammy Stewart. So Frankie Hall currently at 186 beats per minute, and then if we drop across to Stewart at 192. Phenomenal heart rate here from these athletes on the climb, and these two riders are trying to close down Blackburn, but Blackburn has got the gap. They're going to see that. Let's just jump in. This is the view that Stewart will see, and that is of the rider Blackburn in front. Behind, looking back, it looks like it is Frankie Hall, the only rider that's going to be within touching distance. If we drop down to Corin's side has company here, and it's Power just going over the top. These two riders are together, but they have got a big old job to do if they want to close that down. Looks like Tindley, Hayes, Berry, Edwards all now being distanced by our leading trio, who have about 9 seconds between Hall and Power and 5 seconds from Blackburn. I'll ride it up on the front at the moment as we continue on with this gradient now pretty steady at 7%. It's become a little bit of a time trial between these riders, but you can see we're going to go through the archway. The gradient will just ease a little bit before another kick, and Blackburn is at the moment who has the gap on the riders behind, and you can see at the moment Sammy Stewart leading Hall. Who is going to go of these two? Remember, the drops and the Crimson Rider chasing Blackburn at the moment. This is our leader on the Donny Chain Gang on Women's Wednesdays. We had a huge pack roll out. They all stay together. Lots of great help, some fantastic chases back on. Lots of our pros going back to help the riders behind. But look at this. These are our leaders, and Stewart is now on a charge. Look at the pace from Stewart to come into the bridge onto the wheel of Blackburn. And is it going to be Stewart who's going to come blasting through? It is Stewart, but Stewart has just backed off. She's closed the gap down and has now decided it doesn't need to do too much more. But look at this, a counter move here by Blackburn. Blackburn has seen that Stewart has eased off, and in that little bit of a lag in between, it looks like Blackburn has gone again. Well, look at this, Stewart's got to respond again. She worked hard to get back onto the wheels of Blackburn. Blackburn waited until Stewart eased off, but Blackburn has gone again. That is a master move there by Blackburn. Can she stay clear Is she going to hold off all the rest of the Donny Chain Gang behind? Time is starting to run out because we are going to start moving on to the slightly easier section. If we move on to our 3D map, we can just about make the gantry out at the top of the screen, and that means that it's going to get very, very close between these riders. We're going to get a little bit of a view. Our camera just whizzing round through the trees. We're going to be out of the trees soon, and we're going to be able to look up the road to the gantry, which is coming. It's literally around this left-hand turn. Let's see who is going to bring it in. I can just make out the gantry in the distance there. Let's see if we can get up and get a view. It's around that right-hand turn. What's happening behind Blackburn here? Well, let's take a look up behind, because it looks to me like Hall has now dropped Sammy Stewart, and it is going to be Blackburn's day unless Hall can pull out something exceptional here, because at the moment Blackburn has played this superbly. If you've been watching a Queen's Gambit, there was no messing about. This is not just going to be checked. This is checkmate from our riders here. It is going to be absolute demolishing the board by Blackburn. She's wiped out the entire opposing force, and Blackburn is going to take this all the way to the line. Hall is trying to respond and has picked up the Wasp, but look at this. This is going to be our winner as we come over the top. You can just see Blackburn, the first rider, is going to be over the top of the line. What time is Blackburn going to do? She comes through. Blackburn takes position 1 in 2. It is going to be Frankie Hall. In 3 is Stewart. And we take a look at Stewart. Stewart comes through in 3rd place. So Blackburn at 10.28, Hall at 10.32, Stewart at 10.39. We're then just going to drop back. We've got a group of 4 riders in here. We're riding in with Joe Tinley, who's got the sprint on them. This is going to be incredibly close between these riders, and the kick's gone from side. Side has gone for this. Is she going to be the rider who's going to take this? Side comes in nearly 10 watts per kilo from Side. Side takes it. Tinley in 2nd place in that sprint from Power and Hayes, so they are 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th, and at the moment they were about 25 seconds clear from this rider Berry. Berry is going to come through in 8th place at the moment. So 1 for Blackburn, 2 for our drops rider Hall, 3 for Stewart, 4 for Side, 5 for Tinley, 6 for Power, 7 for Hayes, 8th for Berry. It's going to be Edwards coming through to take 9th place with an 11.32. Docker's on the way into the line. Is there anybody behind? Nobody who's going to challenge this rider. Docker's one of our fantastic riders, doing some U-turns to drop back and bring the riders on board. Fantastic work being done on the way in, and we've got to say a massive thank you to everybody who helped our riders near the back of the race field. And Ali Dockers comes through. 10th place for Dockers. Behind it's going to be Wade in 11th. So Wade comes through for 11th place. In 12th place, I think it is going to be Lawson from the AO race team here. As she comes into the line, it's going to be Lawson who's going to take 12th place, and comes through 9 seconds clear from a rider who we know can be on the front as she comes in over the top of a hill climb finish. It's Sarah Lomas. So Lomas takes 13. And behind it's a big gap back now. We're going to have 3 riders fighting it out on the way in here, including our sprint winner from the virtual Tour de France, from the Women's Tour de France, Tacey not on the wheels here, but she's got a massive kick as this rider, and is our fantastic pro rider who was our first guest on the women's special. Is she going to be able to take this as she comes in towards the top? Hare is trying to match her on the way through here. Tacey just ticking off a little bit. Hare continues to push on here. It's Hare on the front for max speed. The distance is dropping down. You can just see if we ride in behind these riders. The gantry in front, so it's Hare currently in 1, Wootton in 2, Tacey in 3. Out of this group now, Tacey going again. And is Tacey putting in your proper style kick? She certainly has. Look at this. The gap's opened. And Tacey now leading this out. No shame in being beaten by a rider who's won a stage of the Tour de France. Tacey's doing this. The run-in, it's going to be Tacey coming through. It's going to be 13th for Tacey here. It's going to be 14th for Wootton. It's going to be 15th for Hare. We're going to drop back to Kinlock, who's going to take 16th place. And she comes to the line. So Killock in with 16th behind. Then it's going to be Nixon and Cresswick. So Natalie Cresswick on the heels here of Nixon as they make their way up here. So Heather Nixon at the moment is looking like she's going to take it through the line in front of Natalie Cresswick as they come up towards the gantry. Here it comes. Through goes Nixon behind, going through the line. It is going to be Cresswick. Then it's going to be Harley Hobson next of our riders in. Then it's going to be Bratton coming through on that Tron bike. And then behind it, we've got to say a massive thank you. Our yellow beacon, our ride leader, fresh from racing yesterday. It is Emma Payne doing a fantastic job of keeping that group together and giving hopefully everybody a great work on the ride through to the finish here. Fantastic riding and looking really good there on the finish on Neutron bike recently. Next up is going to be Radcliffe. So Hazel Radcliffe, our next rider, coming up to the line here on the Donny Chain Gang, and Hazel Radcliffe comes pushing through the line there. 3.5 watts per kilo just in front of our next rider, NRPR. Can't give you a name check, we just do your initials, sorry. So through goes NRPR, and we're going to drop back to Gagan next. The Cryogen rider Chloe on her way towards the line. So Chloe Gagan it is who's going to be our next rider through the Surrey Hills in the distance. The gantry coming up in front of this rider who is looking very focused at the moment. Remember, they've opened up the gap. Foxy and Torrey are behind. Let's see who has got anything left. Will they be able to close this rider down before the line? I don't think they're going to. Here comes the gantry. So Gagan comes through. Chloe Gagan comes through behind. Then it's a sprint, and it is between Foxy and Torrey, but it's going to be Foxy who's going to get this. Foxy's gone clear, and Foxy has the gap as she goes underneath the King of the Mountains gantry here on the Donny Chain Gang. Then it's going to be Torrey coming through just ahead of former world champion Tracy Fletcher. So it's Fletcher, then it's going to be Nicholas Soden, the next rider who comes through the line. So Soden pushing all the way into the gantry. Behind is going to be Brooks. And at the moment, Brooks holding off Gibson, currently at 6 seconds. So look at that. It is Gibson just working in towards the line. Got a little bit of a gap on the riders behind. So great riding by Claire Gibson there. And then it's going to be Phoebe Snedden, the Sneddinator, or just Phoebe's. Absolute legend around the sport, a great ambassador for Specialised, and I think riding a Specialised tarmac today. And Phoebe on her way through the line, doing another good ride from Phoebe, top class athlete, we know that. Then it's going to be Karen Partington with the final kick in, just coming ahead of Jessup. And then it's going to be Iona Seal, who's going to be our next rider on the way towards the line. She's got Lisa Leviton and Sonia Innesley behind, and I think those two riders aren't separated by much. It's going to be a club sprint in the Bolsover and District Cycling Club duo behind, but we'll watch Seal come through the line first. She's got time to take a drink on the way to the line. Behind you can see Leviton and Insley. They're going to be side by side. Oh, and I think that was just Leviton from Insley as they came across the line there. I wouldn't want to call it. I think that's going to be a watch back on the camera. Next through is going to be Murphy. So great riding by Murphy to come through just ahead of Lee up at the top of the King of the Mountains. We're just dropping back a little bit here to Grace Metcalf and Helen Ashfield. So Helen Ashfield comes through just in front of Grace Metcalf. So it's going to be Metcalf and then Ruth Taylor. Taylor, the next rider in through the line, just ahead of Maddie Smith of Bolsover and District CC, putting in another great rider. Maddie, one of those riders going back to help out. Next is the Excel spreadsheet legend, the coordinator of the Donny Chain Gang Open Red Beacons, as well as regular rider, and a rider who was out riding for Doddy Aid as well. Gail Phillips is going to be our next rider in through the gantry here on the Donny Chain Gang on Women's Wednesdays. Then we've got a little bit of a gap because we're going to drop back to Gabby Shaw. So our next rider is going to be Gabby, heading up towards the line. Behind it looks like Lucy James from the Alliance squad. Then it's going to be Rourke. Remember, Rourke was in touch with that, leading the group until the big kick in the finish. Worked hard to try and get in as we came into London, and then just distanced then Dooley. But it is going to be Shaw, our next rider, in towards the line here, and that is going to be Gabby heading in up this climb. It levels off at the top. If your legs are screaming, it feels like it takes forever to get here. You really are hurtling at this point, but it just doesn't feel like it after that long climb. So moving very, very well here. It is going to be Shaw, the next rider to come through the finish here on the DONNYCHAINGANG. So it's Gabby Shaw who comes through, being chased to the line. It's going to be Rourke trying to roll. I'll let Heseltine James. Look at that, Rourke just gets to there. So it was Rourke, then Heseltine James, who's rode on the line. Now we're going to drop back to Dooley. So good to have Dooley with us. And it looks to me like Emma Dooley in through the line, our next rider through, just ahead of Cullen. And Cullen with a rider behind can't relax at this moment. So Megan Cullen being chased by Jules Fitz. And we're going to keep an eye on these two. So it is going to be Cullen pushing to the line, going to be through the gantry next on the DONNYCHAINGANG. Through she goes. Then it's going to be Jules. So Jules chasing all the way to the finish there. These two riders 32 seconds clear of the next duo. And this is going to be Tompkins and Scott. So Tompkins, Polly Tompkins at the moment, the rider on the front in the blue, rolling around, currently 65 revs per minute. Immediately behind is Scott. Scott just wearing that level jersey, a really important jersey on the way through, level 20, and looks quite a lot more routes and more bikes on the way through. The further up through Zwift you go, the easier it gets, the more routes you get, which makes it a little bit more difficult to choose. And Gabby Scott at the moment is going to be rolling into the line with Tompkins. So Tompkins taking that from Scott behind. It is going to be Catherine on her way up here in that red and black jersey. So Catherine is on the top of the Surrey Hills at the moment as the gradient starts to ease the pace. Picking up, the effort can remain constant, but you just go quicker, which is always good news as you come in towards the gantry. And Catherine going to be our next rider here on the DONNYCHAINGANG, live on the Down Cycling YouTube channel with myself, Matt Payne, bringing you all of the action from the DONNYCHAINGANG. Remember, of course, all of this coming to you all the way through lockdown to give you something to look forward to. Even the hills are worth looking forward to. Did I really just say that? They're not. The downhills are, I promise. Next up is going to be Marcel Manning. Manning at the moment looking nice and smooth. 81 revs per minute, 157 beats per minute, and 157 watts when I happen to look at the screen then. But Manning is going to see the line coming, and if we take a little look up at the road, Manning can now see the gantry coming in front. And this is going to be Marcel Manning. She's got 10 seconds on Glover. So Manning at the moment with a little gap on those riders behind. In fact, they're not in sight as they come up and through the gantry. So it is Manning going through, the next rider into the line just ahead here of Glover. Annie Glover ahead of going to be Nancy Skinner. So it looks like it is Annie Glover, then it's going to be Nancy Skinner, our next rider heading in to the finish. But Skinner's got company, and I think Gina Hardcastle and Skinner are going to be heading up here together. So Gina Hardcastle and Nancy Skinner on the way into the line. Are we going to see a sprint from Skinner, try and take it from Hardcastle? Can Hardcastle hold on to that position? This is the next duo on the climb here. These final Ks up to the top of the Chaingang climb, the king of the mountains here on Keithhill. Really is tough stuff, and it really can make life difficult for these riders. But it looks to me like Hardcastle now opening the gap up on Skinner as they come up towards the line. You can see that gap has gone, and it is going to be Gina Hardcastle, the next rider through. So Hardcastle pushes those final few meters to the line, continues to open the gap up behind his Skinner. Skinner coming in and through the gantry. gantry here on the Donny Chain Gang, and great ride by Nancy. First ride on Zwift on the Donny Chain Gang. Great to have you with us, Nancy. Don't ever let the rest of the family get on the bike again. You do a great job. Next up is going to be Gilbert. So Emma Gilbert is who comes through. So great to see Emma in action, and Emma out and riding, and good ride by Emma coming through just ahead of Eve Roberts, very experienced rider Roberts in that GB strip, and good to see Eve getting faster and faster and in with those groups for longer and longer, and a very experienced rider, and soon going to be very experienced on Zwift as well. Certainly a rider who is in Peruvian ride on ride, and great to see that Eve is in here. She's got 34 seconds on Kaz Tarry, Brown at 58 seconds, Watts at 1 minute 50. So Eve Roberts is going to be our next rider through the finish on the Donny Chain Gang as Roberts comes in and through. Great riding by Eve, and a warm and down to go. Next up is going to be Kaz Tarry from Sitwell. And the Sitwell Arms, a place I travel past regularly on my ride out to the flatlands out to the east, somewhere that signals the start of the last climb out to the flatlands pretty much for me. Or if I'm coming back home, it's the last big downhill comes down past the pub, which is always good news. So Kaz Tarry, our next rider here on the Donny Chain Gang, and a massive thank you to everybody riding the Women's Wednesdays. Don't forget, we've got a really flat route tomorrow, so if you want a bit of a spin out, the red beacon will be rolling around about 2 to 2.5 watts per kilo. Always good way to spin your legs and always have a good chat. Can't always guarantee gin and biscuits, well, except when it's the Women's Wednesdays, when it seems to be a recurrent theme. The party bus at the back, picking up riders on the way through, and our next rider well clear, about 4 minutes, nearly 5 minutes clear of that party bus. It looks like it is going to be Phoebe Brown. So Phoebe now at just sub 3 watts per kilo. The final run up, remember there's a K warm down on the other side from the gantry, but it is going to be Phoebe Brown who's going to be our next rider through the gantry here at the top of Keithhill on the Donny Chain Gang, as Watts now continues to push up towards the top of the hillside. And if we just take a look behind Watts, you can just see that gantry in the distance, the pink gantry here for Keithhill with the white dots on all of the different time segments on Zwift, separated out by colours. Some where there's only 4, we have red, green, orange and pink. Some of them there are 10 or 12, and that's the wonderful thing about Zwift. So many different worlds to visit, so many different routes to go on, and we've got lots of great routes coming up on the Donny Chain Gang and on Women's Wednesdays on the Chain Gang as well. So just keeping an eye on Watts at the moment as she comes onto that slightly leveler section up near the top of the Surrey Hills. The stars out wherever we are, because remember on Zwift you have the weather and the dusk of whichever server you're on at that time. And as you can see, Watts now fast approaching the gantry, 30 kph as she comes up towards the line. So it's going to be Meg Watts, our next rider, finishing here on the Donny Chain Gang. Great riding by Meg, and Meg coming through with a warm down to do. Always a feature on the Donny Chain Gang. We finish at fixed feature. It's a feature everybody knows where they're at. They can look at the time on the final climb up the hill or into the sprint or around the final lap. It also means it's consistent for everybody as well, and it's the same for everybody. So at the moment, Jones, our next rider, just tucked down low as the pace picks up over 30 kph, 32 kph here on this 1% section, on this slight ascent, this long drag up to the gantry, the finishing line here on the Women's Wednesdays on the Donny Chain Gang. And our riders know once they reach the top here, they can let go, spin those legs off, and not too far for plenty of our riders on the way in to the finish. So just taking a little bit of a look at Jones. Jones comes through the gantry and 118 watts and quickly kicking those off, and so would I as I hit that line. This is one of those climbs that when you're riding it on Zwift, it feels much longer than it really is, and it definitely makes those legs ache. Don't care how good you are, unless you're going to go up that and you're a Tour de France winner and you're taking a nice easy ride, the gradients do kick in. That step in the hill definitely makes it a much more difficult climb as well. So Kel Colley is our next rider on course, and Kel now past the last junction, past that left hand turn, and that takes you away from the finish. The gantry now coming into sight just on the right hand side of your screen. This 4.3k climb that averages 5%. Nearly an end now for Colley, and Kel going to be through that line warming down as she heads for the Blue Banner. The Blue Banner is usually somewhere between 700 and about 1400 metres. And great to see just how those riders were out and riding, looking really good. So just keeping a check on the messages. So Russ watching in. Russ the Bear Downing keeping an eye on Emma the boss, who is our beacon today, and looks like Russ has been enjoying himself, and some really complimentary messages from him, and quite rightly, really nicely done by everybody in the chain gang. Some fantastic riding, our pros supporting the weaker riders, those riders who are maybe just starting off on their cycling journey, and of course those strong riders who maybe have been around more laps of the Tour de France than they care to remember. Well, they're in there helping those sort of riders who are in need a little bit further back. We all have those days. We've all blown up on the wrong side of the hill and had to get pushed back. I certainly have. In fact, I have a lot of times. I've been pushed back over more hills than I really do care to remember, right from my time with Leeds Apollo, which is a long, long time ago. Now, next up is a rider that we saw sitting in with the red beacon early on. And it looks to me like Chantal Brady has been on some really good splits here, because Chantal Brady was in with the red beacon. Chantal has got quicker and quicker as she's gone into this climb, and as we've hit this climb, Chantal has now put a couple of minutes into our red beacon, and that is some going. That is a really good ride, and looks like this rider just coming up onto the slightly more level section, just coming into a 0% section. It will drag up again before the line, but nothing like as steep as the steps. She's already ascended here on Keithhill on the DONNYCHAINGANG. And Brady looking good as she continues upwards. Brady certainly looking like got a nice rev here, keeping the revs consistent, keeping the watts consistent, and pushing on towards the line. That gantry not too far away. I'm not trying to knock the post over, honest. So we'll dodge the wall as we make our way up here. It's a good job I don't have a drone camera in real life that I use regularly. It wouldn't survive. It really would not have to play non-Zwift. So Brady now into those final few meters, that last little drag coming in at 1%, and as you can see, Brady's going to see the gantry in front. Here it comes, and Brady pushing on the pink gantry, always a good sign at the top of Keithhill in either direction, and that's one of the big advantages of Zwift. It's consistent, it regularly is used by riders. You get a good marker of where you're at, and of course we're at one of our staples tomorrow for the DONNYCHAINGANG. We're out around Greater London Flat with Russ in the lead, and we've got red beacons again. Everybody welcome, and remember, great way to ride, and great riding there. Well done to Brady. Fantastic to see the riders up and over the top. We're going to drop in with Danielle Riley. Great to see Danielle out again. I've spent far too much time travelling around umpteen places with Danielle over the years, and Danielle, of course, now one of the coaches over in the north or west at the Manchester Academy, and definitely one of those riders who knows exactly how it's done. Look at that, absolutely smooth stuff. So Riley is who's going to be our next rider in towards the line. That gantry just appearing in front, and here she comes. We're going to drop down to get that shot. Here she comes through the gantry. It is Danielle Riley coming through there. Riley's time 22:17 up there, and behind I think we're going to see Anne Bale. So Bale next of our riders in the green. Really good revs here. Look at this, 88, 89 revs per minute. So good pedal cadence here. You can see those legs flicking around nice and quickly. That's a really smooth style, and that's what we look for on Zwift. It's really good if you're riding to have that reaction. You need to be able to push your big gear, but to react quickly, super smooth revs, lots of flexibility in your pedal cadence, and that makes a massive difference. So just got some really good news come through. Guys, you want to be on the Chain Gang tomorrow. I can't tell you why. You want to go on. Absolute superstar. Arguably Britain's best cyclist ever. Certainly one of our best Olympians ever. You need to be on the gang tomorrow. If it all goes to plan, you are going to love it. You need to be on it. Sign up now, guys. Really mean it. I'm going to hopefully see Anne Bale on the Chain Gang tomorrow as Bale comes in through the gantry, and great riding by Anne Bale, riding strongly all the way to the finish. Now let's have a little look. We've got Marshall in here. Cheek from Cookie. Am I riding? I wish I was. I'll tell you something, I think I've ridden with this particular rider on about 2 occasions. I've shared a set of boards with him once and a changing room once, and I was just in awe. There's not many times I get dumbstruck, but this is a rider that definitely left me pretty much speechless, and that gives you an indication of the scale of how good this rider is. So Marshall now putting in a great ride here with her 4 on her wheel here, so looks like a fat girl fit, and Marshall on the way through. Marshall currently 102 watts, 90 revs per minute, and 4 here just on a few lower revs. However, kicking out similar watts per kilo, both on deep rims here. Nice when you're sitting in with the group, a little bit trickier when you're riding up the hill. This could be a really interesting sprint here, because I can see these two sprinting it out for the finish. We are going to be able to see that gantry very shortly. Here we go. So the gantry's coming up. Are we going to see a sprint between the 2 riders? Who is going to lead this out? At the moment, it's 4 on the front. So FGF leading out Michelle Marshall sitting in the sweet spot, starting to wind it up, pushes onto the wheel but doesn't go past at the moment. That gantry's coming. Are we going to see a sprint in here? Looks like Farr giving it some, and at the moment it's going to be Farr who's got the gap on Marshall. Marshall responding, kicking up to 3.6 watts per kilo. It's going to be tight under the line, but it's Farr. It just goes through just in front of Marshall there. Both riders now backing off the pressure as they come on the way down off the slopes of Keithhill. Great riding, guys. We're going to drop in to the party bus at the back now, and it looks like Jo Jarvis taking her turn on the front at the moment. Great to have Jo helping out the Donny Women's Chain Gang with a sweep and with a red beacon. Helps keep things together, helps out the riders at the back, and all of that help is always appreciated. Thank you to everybody who's volunteered, and it's the volume of volunteers that means that we can have plenty of people looking after our riders, new riders like Islam here. And Islam on the climb can see the gantry. This is Islam's view up the road, and Shuana Islam now pushing on for the line here. This is the kick to the finish, so let's hope she's got something left in the tank. It looks like our red beacon Cookie has been on the gin too much, too many biscuits and gin yet again for Miss Cookie. She's got that name for a reason, I tell you. So here we go. It is Jarvis going to be leading it out. Islam here. Islam is going to be on the way towards the line. Look at this. Jarvis is going to get her a good time here up to the top. Islam's going to respond to this. This is great riding as they come up towards the line. This is what we want now. Jarvis telling her to go. Now's the time to kick to. So Shuema, keep those pressure on those pedals. Give every little last bit. You can stop pedaling when you get through the gantry. That's the point you back off. Cookie's coming hard behind. She's going to try and roll them both on the line. I don't think she's going to do it. So here on the Donny Chain Gang, as they come through the line, new rider to the Chain Gang, it is Shuema Islam going through with Jarvis and Cookie sprinting the way through the finish and on to the downhill. So great riding. Massive thank you to Jo Jarvis, and a massive thank you to Miss Cookie, who is now on her way down the slope. We're going to get the drone rolling so we can get a quick view on the way in. So, Cookie rounding off the day for us here on the Donny Chain Gang on the Women's Wednesday. A fantastic ride, cracking finish, amazing ride by Joe Blackburn to take the first rider over the top of the line. Great leading, great beacons out there, and definitely, in the words of Russ, this is how it should be done, with those chases back, with the pulling back of riders into the group, people going back, circling back and picking up riders and bringing them in. That's what we want to see. Riders of all abilities getting themselves out there. If you want to ride with one of the best riders the UK has ever produced, ever, I would argue probably the best rider we've ever produced, make sure you're on the Chain Gang tomorrow. I have more than my fingers and all my toes crossed at this moment in time. Let's hope it all goes to plan tomorrow. Thank you for joining us on Women's Wednesdays on the Donny Chain Gang. From myself, Matt Payne, from our Yellow Beacon, Emma Payne, from our Red Beacon, Miss Cookie, and our sweeper, Joe Jarvis, and of course from Russ in the background. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow. So, if you're mad enough to watch to the end of the titles, we can tell you now. Tomorrow, Donny Chain Gang confirmed the one and only Sir Chris Hoy. We are not worthy. He's here. I promise you we will rip some Mickey out of him if he doesn't keep up. So make sure you watch tomorrow. See you later on the Donny Chain Gang.